particularly on the left and the black left, is you see sort of that full swing of the pendulum.
I really don't have a super negative opinion of Barack Obama, but I am developing a super negative opinion of the impact of Barack Obama and what it did to black people. Am I crazy for thinking that a lot of this and a lot of where we've gone mentally and seeing our identity as a Democrat and throwing out all of our religious beliefs and values can be directly traced to Barack Obama's presidency?
I mean, that's a really interesting thought. At first blush, I wouldn't necessarily say his presidency itself has been the worst thing that's happened to Black America. I think in many respects, obviously, it was a historical moment. It was a moment that many people, both of an older generation and even younger folks, thought would never happen because of how racist the country is. So I think it was a moment for a lot of people to acknowledge what progress we've made in previous generations, to the point where not only did Obama get a higher percentage of white voters than John Kerry did in the previous election, he also got a higher percentage of Republican voters and conservative voters. I would combine his election with the election of President Trump. And I think what you see, particularly on the left and the black left, is you see sort of that full swing of the pendulum from the high that a lot of black folks felt after Obama was elected in '08. I remember getting on the train the next morning and people had the newspapers and there was sort of the silent head nods and in that time as a country, and particularly for black folk, we felt up. And then when Trump came in 2016, we felt down.
We've been basically institutionalized. It's like the person that has spent so much time in prison, and we've been put in a mental prison by the Democratic Party, and we don't want, there are some people, I'm telling you, they want to go back to prison because that's how they know how to operate.
Sure. I mean, it really, obviously there's the micro issue, which is Kyle Rittenhouse is on trial for killing 2 people and shooting a third, right? So the jury will decide whether he's guilty or not guilty based on the evidence that they hear. So that will take care of itself. But when you look at the reaction from the media, and particularly sort of the corporate advocacy media on the left, the Times, the CNN, MSNBC, what you see emerging is just another instance of the battle that you alluded to and that I write about, which is that battle between defenders and destroyers. And one of the things that really sort of piqued my interest was the fact that every time I would hear, personalities, anchors, hosts on MSNBC or CNN talk about Rittenhouse, they always started at the point of him being a 17-year-old kid traveling across state lines, because apparently now borders are important when it's between 2 states, but not when it's between 2 countries. But they would talk about him, traveling across state lines with an AR-15, which is, again, false. The gun, he didn't travel with the gun. But they talk about how reckless it was and how bad a decision it was, but they never talk about what brought him there.